welcome to another episode of the Content Marketing Cheat Sheet podcast. I'm your host, Nina Vielvaso, and if you want to learn how to build a personal brand and turn passion into profit with content marketing, you came to the right place. And today I have a fun episode prepared for us, because today we are going to talk about building a community. And building a community nowadays, building a community in today's day and age is super important. And if you are unsure on how to build a community, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you all the steps necessary how you can build a community online. And whether you're selling goods online, you're an influencer, you're a blogger, you're a social media manager working for another company, building a community should be your number one priority. And if you're not sure how to build a community or why it's so important to do that, I'm going to show you why. And most importantly, I'm also going to show you how. So let's dive right in. And before we start, we need to understand, what is a community? In the traditional sense, a community shares the same interests, values, religion, or anything that might connect them. A community could also be someone that lives in the same geographical area as you. So for example, in your neighborhood, if you have a neighborhood get-together, those people build a community by simply living in the same zip code. And now you might ask yourself, but what is the difference between a community and an audience? Because you might already have some following online. So you think, well, I'm already building an audience, so what is a community? Community members have strong opinions about your service and your product, and they voice them to other people. They are true brand evangelists that would recommend your product or service to other people. So they're really advocating on your behalf. And most importantly, they're proudly showing off your brand, your product or service. And if one community member meets another community member, they instantly connect based on the fact that they both belong to the same community. Because it goes back to our traditional sense that they share the same interests or values. So if they belong to your community, they most likely share the same values. So they're going to connect over the fact that they both belong, quotation mark, to your brand. On the other hand, an audience are a group of people who follow you based on the content you're putting out there. They're generally enjoying it, they're enjoying the value, but they don't feel the sense of belonging. They don't feel the sense of urgency to tell other people about your brand. Meaning they're less likely to advocate on your behalf to other people. So our key takeaways on why you should focus on building a community: because an audience cares about your message, but a community engages with your message and talks to other people about you. An audience can be bought, meaning you can run advertising online and acquire that customer or acquire that person to follow your account, whereas a community cannot be bought. A community can only be established. Brands have to interact with an audience, meaning the brand has to encourage your audience to participate in, let's say, comments or shares or sliding into someone's DMs, whereas the community are they love to engage with you via comments. They like to carry that conversation into your direct messages. An audience is detached and a community is very involved. Meaning an audience is detached. So what does it mean? If an audience is detached, they follow you, but if you don't constantly provide new content or new products or services, they might get eventually bored and unfollow you or totally forget about you. Whereas a community is very involved. Even if you don't put out content, they're still very involved in your life and they want to know what's going on. And that leads us also to the next point. An audience moves on quickly. So there are people who get bored very fast and I find someone else I can follow. Whereas a community is here to stick around. And in order to really understand how to build a community, you need to understand the current marketing landscape. So if you take a look at the current marketing landscape, you will see that you basically have three big players. You have Facebook, you have Google, and you have TikTok. And if you're not aware, Facebook is basically the metaverse. Instagram belongs to that. WhatsApp belongs to Facebook. We have Google. Google owns YouTube. And then we have the new kid on the block, TikTok. And all these three major players are basically ruling the internet. So you don't have much to say when it comes to your privacy policy. You don't really know what they're doing with your data. You're basically just a person that uses their services, so their account. Meaning you have an Instagram account, you have a TikTok account, you have a YouTube channel. But if YouTube or if Google or if the metaverse or Facebook decides tomorrow that you violated one of their policies, they can shut you down real quick. And you can lose your account. Or tomorrow they decide, you know what, it will be a paid model. So if you want to be on YouTube, you got to pay a member fee. You don't really have much to say, and they can change directions when they want to. Also, mid-2022, and just for reference, I'm recording this in September of 2022. And mid-2022, we are experiencing a recession. So advertisers and small businesses, or businesses in general, they're a little bit more cautious on where to spend money. So a lot of advertisers are pulled back their advertising budgets, so they're not really advertising, they're just keeping their money right now and seeing where the trend is heading. Also meaning that at this moment, they're not really acquiring new customers via like their social media advertisement. And what does it mean as a marketer? What does it mean if you own your business? During these times, it's even more important that you have a community, that someone is advocating on your behalf. Even though you don't have the budget or the current means right now to advertise on social media because of all the stuff that is going on, so you kind of want to keep that budget, but at least you have your community that is still there, that still talks about you and pushes your brand forward. That's why it's so important to focus on building a community. Also, now that you know your current market landscape, what does the future hold for us? And at this point, you probably heard of Web 3 or Web 3.0. And if you haven't heard about Web 3, I encourage you to read up on it, watch YouTube videos to really understand what Web 3 is and how can it benefit your company. I don't want to go too deep in like Web 3.0 and explain the verbiage or what everything means. I just want to touch base on where our future is heading in terms of marketing. But ultimately, Web 3.0 is the way consumers and brands interact with each other. It's the way they do business, it's the way that you're going to do business, it's the way that we live on the internet. Consumers will have more control over their data, over their privacy policy, and who they want to share their personal information with and who they don't want to share those personal information with. Loyalty point, tickets such as concert tickets, purchases, returns, they will all be visible on the blockchain, make it easy to track each and every step. And now if you're asking yourself, what is a blockchain? In layman's terms, a blockchain is basically a technology that tracks all the purchases or any activity that happen with a particular product or service that you're interacted with. And to give you an example, for example, I can see designer brands introduce a blockchain and an NFT into their daily business. So let's say you want to buy a designer bag and down the road you want to resell the designer bag. As of right now, reselling a designer bag is quite difficult because people don't really trust you whether it's authentic or not, and you have to go through that whole authentication process. But let's say you use a blockchain, you use an NFT. Once you buy the designer bag from your favorite designer store, it will be indicated on the blockchain the date of purchase and where you bought it from. At the same time, an NFT can be issued to you authenticating your bag. Now you have the NFT and you have the blockchain to prove that you purchased the bag at the designer store. Now if you want to resell it, you just show the proof on the blockchain that you purchased it at the designer store and you have the NFT to prove authenticity. This will really eliminate the process of not trusting you or the process of going to someone who can authenticate the bag. So this will ultimately make our way how we purchase and how we prove stuff way easier. Another aspect of Web 3.0 is decentralization. As I mentioned earlier, Facebook or the metaverse, Google and TikTok, these are all centralized entities, meaning they can control the internet, or they pretty much control the internet. They control what content you can put out there, what you cannot put out there, and they can shut down your account if they feel like it. And Web 3.0 really pushes a decentralization, meaning that there is no one that controls the internet or controls your data or your output besides yourself, which will ultimately enable a more tailored experience once you go on the internet. Blockchain, augmented reality, virtual reality, all these things will be part of the future and change how people will interact with one and each other, and of course how they will interact with brands. Building communities and relationship in the current marketing space, but more importantly in the future marketing space, are super important. Building communities will help you to position yourself as a credible and trusted source. It will help also consumers to buy into your project. So for example, if you want to launch an NFT project, NFT stands for non-fungible token. So something that connects your community with your brand and provides value. Also, it's super important to build community because the future is not only heading towards a Web 3.0 where you interact on the blockchain, where you use NFTs, but also voice will be huge. Currently, we pick up our phones, we go on the computer, and we type in a search term into Google. Soon, this will be replaced by you just speaking to one of your at-home devices, whether it's a Google device or an Alexa. So right now you might be Googling, where should I get my coffee from, or nearest coffee shop. In the future, you would just say, hey Alexa, hey Google, I want to order a coffee. And whoever Alexa or Google picks in the local coffee shop in the area will be delivering your coffee. Let's say your local coffee shop and you really focus on building a community and you have a strong community that really loves your coffee. And let's say I'm one of those people who loves your coffee. And by the way, I only like cold brew really. I'm more of a tea person. But anyways, and let's say today I really want some cold brew on this hot summer day. So in this case, I would tell Alexa, hey Google, I order me a coffee from XYZ. So instead of just saying order me any coffee, and then Alexa or Google picks for you, you go with the intent of ordering a coffee from this particular store. And I want to tell you, this might sound all a bit confusing to you, but ultimately you need to build a community. You need to build a brand. So once we move away from typing in key phrases and searching the internet with our hands and it goes to voice, your brand should be the first who comes in mind when we want to order a salad, a coffee, when we want a t-shirt, when we want new sneakers. So that's the reason why you need to build a community. So you're the brand that comes first in mind if someone wants to make a voice command. Now that you understood where marketing is heading and why it's super important to build a community, let's dive into how you can actually do it. Number 1, building human connections. The first step to building a community is to make it personal. Show your audience who's behind the social media accounts. Show your audience who's behind the Instagram or the TikTok account to take away the anonymity. And if you're a solopreneur, you're an influencer, you're a blogger, you can take people with you on your day-to-day. Show behind the scenes, give them a glimpse of your life. And if you're a brand and you have multiple people interacting on your account, also show their faces. Tell them, hey, this is our social media team and we're here for you. Or this is our customer service team. And keep sharing advice, tips, or anything that has to do with your brand. So people get a real understanding on who's behind the brand. Also, it's super important to talk to your community online in the same way you will talk to someone who enters your store. So please do not go online on your Instagram story and say, hey everyone, because would you greet one customer that walks into your store saying, hey everyone, how can I help you? You wouldn't really do this. So really remember to keep it personal. Just like, hey, I'm so glad you showed up here today. I'm so glad you tuned into my Instagram stories, or I'm so glad you asked me questions. Overall, continue to provide valuable content and use tools that increase engagement. So for example, on the Instagram story, you can use poll stickers and you can use the Q&A stickers to encourage your community to engage with you. And using those stickers, whether the poll feature or it's Q&A stickers, it really gives your audience or your community the sense of belonging to someone and the chance to really interact with you and make decisions. Number 2, show off your values. Really stand up and tell people what you're believing in. And I'm not telling them, stand up and tell them all your political opinions. I'm not talking about that. We don't need to share that online. But what I'm talking about is more if you're invested in a social cause. Share that with your followers, but be really authentic about it. Be real about it. If, let's say, you want to save turtles and you want to eliminate plastic waste, and on the one side you're portraying that online, please also do so off camera. In the past couple of years, a lot of people online jumped onto trends just because they thought it was cool. But on the one side, they portrayed one thing online, but off camera, they did a totally different thing. So if you're standing up for a social cause, I need you to be as authentic online as well as offline. If you want to eliminate plastic waste, then do this online and offline. Same goes for advocating a lifestyle choices. If you are a healthy eater, or if you believe in a vegan diet, vegetarian diet, whatever it might be, you gotta show that lifestyle online, but you also gotta live that lifestyle off camera. At the end of the day, there is no right or wrong way to show off your values, but keep in mind, you gotta be authentic. You have to be authentic, you have to be truthful, and you really have to mean it. The reason why I urge you to really be authentic, first of all, people like to connect with people that are like-minded, but also if someone finds out that this is not what you do off camera, it can really hurt your brand. And clear brand values and showing off your personal values really helps other people to connect with you. It really attracts like-minded people who think the same as you, and that helps you to build a community. Because at the end of the day, we want to connect with people who are like-minded. We like to connect with people who share the same interests and the same values as us. Number 3, user-generated content, or short UGC. And if you're not using user-generated content in your content strategy, you're definitely missing out on huge opportunities to build a community. So I urge you to really go in and start using and start generating user-generated content. Posting content that was produced by your community or by your audience really makes the person feel like a VIP when they open up your Instagram account and they see their picture on your feed. You can encourage your audience to produce user-generated content by hosting giveaway, contests, competitions, and providing them with a branded hashtag. This will make it easier for them to share content about your brand, but it also makes it easier for you to find that content. And number 4, loyalty programs. Giving back to the community is a great way to further strengthen the bond with you and your community. And showing gratitude to your community or to your audience doesn't need to break your bank. It doesn't need to cost a thing for you. Loyalty programs, discount, special promotions, giveaways, and donating to social causes are just a few ways to reward your community members for their support. Following these tips, you will be able to create a community that is advocating on your behalf. Following these tips will make you a stronger personal brand online. And while there's no such thing as overnight success or tomorrow you build the greatest community, you gotta keep working on it. You gotta keep focusing on providing value and really strengthen the bond between you and your audience so you can turn those audience members into community members. Building a community can be achieved by really honing in on being personal online, being authentic online, and through meaningful conversations. Keep in mind this is a long-term strategy, so every day put your best foot forward to build a community. And that led us yet again to another episode of the Content Marketing Cheat Sheet podcast. I'm so glad you tuned in today, and I can't wait to see you again next week. Until next time, goodbye, or how we say in Germany, auf Wiedersehen.